So I'm not going to behave like this 800 million hex. I'm going to sit here and change my behavior because that may or may not happen down the road.
Right.
I agree with you. We shouldn't ignore it. And we did a whole segment on it. We're not
Right.
ignoring it, but
Right.
I'm not going to have it dictate my every move in the market.
No.
Good stuff. All right. So I want to talk about this. This is I think actually the most interesting conversation we'll have tonight. So, not doing the whole EHEX PHEX debate thing, just kind of observing what has been happening in terms of actual hex mining rewards on minted hex basically over the next few years. So we have started to see the divergence, and this is what people have been talking about, and I think we're starting to see it play out, where we've heard about hex on Ethereum becoming the kind of whale chain, or where the staking, minting, whatever you want to call it, will be taking place, whereas PulseChain might be the more, and a lot of people have spoken to this, but like new onboarding, cheaper fees, stuff like that for now. I mean, and I think PulseChain will continue to have cheaper fees. I'm just saying the ETH fees may not be untenable forever anyway. But taking a look, and I'm going to reference actually, let me put this in the chat. And actually, if you want to grab it, you can, Ewok. But from Crispy Man the other day, very good tweet. You keep what you have up too. But yeah, basically just showing that for hex miners, we've begun to see the divergence of rewards between chains. Ethereum gaining over PulseChain. Expect to see this widen over time? Question mark. So yeah, let's look at what you've got up there, Ewok, and we are already seeing the ETH hex T-share payout better than the PulseChain one. So
yeah, it's starting to separate. Well, so when you look here at the here, let me go to the right page so you can see my mouse. When you look here at the payout per T-share,
yeah.
Well, it actually just updated here a little bit ago. It was different before.
Went down a little bit, it looks like.
Yeah. So you've got payout per T-share 6.524 on Ethereum, and that is hex per T-share. PulseChain is right at 6.5. So it's only been a month, 30 days or so. So, just to see the disparity though in 30 days, how the Ethereum is pulling away, that means, obviously the pool in Ethereum is a little bit smaller than you've got people moving to PulseChain. And I really think, as I've said before, it's going to be somewhat of a self-balancing system. People are always going to go where the money treats them better. And if you have a better deal for the same amount, it does take a little bit more. So T-share rate is 27,762 hex to get a T-share, whereas over here on PulseChain, it's only 27,748. So while the payout per T-share is higher, the T-share rate to get a T-share is a little bit lower. Yeah. So it's funny how that works out, and how it will probably always, I think, stay as a self-balancing system. If one gets out of whack too much, there's going to be people that kind of lean over to that one. And then, the other one may catch up. You're going to have premiums and discounts all the time. And I think they're just going to, I think they're just going to go, and they're going to cross, and they'll cross, and then they'll cross again. And it's just going to be one of those systems that are very reflexive to what's going on. Not to mention arbitrage bots and things like that, trying to keep them close. Now, arbitrage bots won't work with the staking system, but it will work with the price. So,
right.
That'll be the first thing that stays. And then, we'll see if the Ethereum folks do anything to fix their gas costs. That's always a possibility too. I don't see, especially if PulseChain starts to really pull some market share from them, they're probably going to be in a hurry to get things fixed and get some of those users back. So
Yeah, go ahead and if you want to pull up the, well, we'll get to it in a minute here. But yeah, I am with you. And yeah, that number was a little bit different earlier. We were at almost 7 actually hex per T share a little bit earlier when we were looking at it. So it was, which is a good number for where we've been.
Yeah.
But I could see that happen. And it's going to be interesting to track because, you know, that kind of shows the behavior on each one of the chains other than just the price. I mean, everybody's talking about the price right now and PulseChain HEX being higher than EHEX and things like that. But I think it's going to be interesting to see. I'm telling you, I know people don't understand this, but just like when we see retail come back into this market, not only are we going to see that EHEX price rise and I think get back to parity with Pulse HEX, like, and you know, like you said, I think they'll oscillate and go back and forth. But I think we'll also see people getting back, and we've talked about this before too, the last couple of weeks, to the behavior of actually mining and minting out HEX, time locking HEX for however many years they want to. It doesn't matter if you don't have to be a 5555 boy or anything, but for a few years, I think people will. Right now, everybody's afraid of everything. So they're not going to do anything. They're not going to lock up tokens. They're not going to buy EHEX, just like Heavy Wing is talking about here in the chat, thinking that we need to take the Bank X thing more seriously. I mean, I don't think you or I just mocked it or didn't take it seriously. We'll get to what he said in a minute here. But as people come back into this market, I think we're going to see that they're going to be more interested in time locking stuff like that for a longer period of time. Everything's dead right now. Everybody's terrified of everything, so they're going to act like it, you know.
Yeah. And
So
this comment, you know, could cause an extra FUD too. It may be nothing. Like I said, I know there was a contract being built to buy the majority of this OTC, which would handle it, and then we wouldn't have to worry about it at all. So, you know, while this is concerning right now, again, I would rather they dump the shit out of it right now, send it to zero. We're only at a penny. We could get back there pretty quickly, and then they're washed out. I'm perfectly fine with that. My concern is, you know, it starts to make a rise, and then it gets dumped, and then you've got one that's considerably higher than the other. Yes, you can't ignore it. I do agree with you. You can't ignore it.
And we weren't, you know, that's the other
no,
thing.
We weren't ignoring it at all.
Yeah.
But there are solutions that are being worked on to address this. So, you know, I think that I'm not concerned about it at this point. It does worry me down the road if you know, we think these people, again, I don't know these guys. So I can't speak on the Bank X guys, but so
I like silver, but I mean, you know, not that this is a direct comparison at all. I don't mean it this way, but do you know how long we've had people crying about like Mount Gox when it comes to Bitcoin? Wait until the Mount Gox dump. When that happens, the final flush out's coming. Okay, well, that's bullshit because it still hasn't happened. Who knows when it's going to happen? If it's like some annuity and they don't all get the tokens or the coins at one time, I don't think we're ever going to see a day where like we are like, that's it. That was the Mount Gox dip. It's just not going to happen. So I'm not going to behave like this 800 million hex. I'm going to sit here and change my behavior, you know, because that may or may not happen down the road.
Right.
I agree with you. We shouldn't ignore it. And we did a whole segment on it. We're not ignoring it, but I'm not going to have it dictate my every move in the market.
No. And he said he's just making for good conversation, nothing personal. And
no, I hear it.
We appreciate that. No, I mean, yeah. Is it worrisome? Yeah, a little bit. Are we going to fix it? With this community, I see it being resolved pretty quickly. You'd be surprised what this community is capable of. If you've been around a long time, then you know. If you haven't, then just watch. So it should be interesting.
Yeah, I'm certainly not going to walk around operating with it like hanging over my head or anything like that. We will see. But Clifton Lewis, glad you can make it as well, man. I saw you were on the Big Pep stream the other day, so shout out to you, man.